Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking the Doctor Who episode The Woman Who Lived. And just for a change of pace, I'm recording this in my kitchen instead of my den, just to do something a little different. So anyway, all in all, this episode was all right, but it wasn't one of those ones where I was really glued to my seat. Now, none of this is a knock against Maisie Williams, who does an absolutely phenomenal job. She was given what I think is okay material, but it does feel a little worn over. I mean, this is a kind of a lament we've heard many times from extraordinarily long-lived characters in many other fictional series and books and TV and movies and comics. Whatever. I mean, her complaint, while a legitimate one and in keeping with her character, is fine and it's well acted. It it's a pretty trite thing for a character in this sort of situation. But just because something's a little bit hackneyed doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad if you have the right story and the right actors and all of that. And again, the story here, it's another episode that has a lot of strong moments, but overall, as a cohesive narrative, is not that great. For example, the Leonard or whatever Lion Man. I mean, that guy looks cool, but as a character, he's nothing. He is literally just not the least tiny bit interesting. Okay, he's basically a lion who can breathe fire and is an evil alien, which we all saw coming a mile away. And after 800 years, you'd think that I'm not going to call her Lady Me because that's stupid. I'm just going to call her Oshilder. Would have kind of picked up a little bit more savvy than that, but she's a worn down person who was just willing to listen to somebody who was willing to tell her what she wanted to hear, basically. So, I mean, we have a very weak villain, and as much fun as that stuff with the Nightmare and her being a robber, I mean, that was cute during the coach robbery, but when it got to the point where the Doctor was helping break into the house and hiding from the guy, and then the nonsense with the guards, it's just like, oh, come on, really? So, I mean, there is that. Now, what was really interesting to me was sort of the comparison between Isildur and the Doctor. And you're asking the extremely reasonable question, like, well, why won't you take me with you? And I do like that the Doctor. I don't like that the Doctor really kind of didn't spell it out immediately, but I think that he probably would have been doing himself a favor if if he'd really just been a little bit more clear with her right from the beginning. But then again, I guess you could also make the case that she sort of felt that words were not going to be enough. She did need that, as they say, as some people might say, the come to Jesus moment. The moment where it really jumps out at them that people have been doing something wrong with their life. And I also didn't really have anything particular to say about Sam Swift. I mean, he was amusing, but I don't know. I don't know if the gift of immortality. Well, let's just say that a little bit of that character in my book goes a long way. And yeah, I mean that's really the thrust of it. Maisie Williams going out there and being awesome at acting, and then just sort of bouncing off Peter Capaldi. That's really the main thing that we've got here. Not that there weren't other good moments. I mean, the Sam Swift character, he was fun for a little while. We got a nice nod to the old episode, The Visitation. They name dropped Jack Harkness, which is also always cool. Nice that Doctor Who hasn't forgotten about him, though. Given that John Barrowman is now a regular over on Arrow, I don't think Captain Jack's going to be coming in back anytime soon. But yeah. Again, the whole let Maisie Williams be awesome and have her bounce off Peter Capaldi. I mean, that's really all this episode had at its core. Now, obviously, they're setting some bigger stuff up. I don't doubt for a moment that we're going to see Hildur pop up again before the end of the season. You don't set something like that up and not pay it off. And if they're going to have an actress like Maisie Williams come on the show, obviously they're going to want to do something big with her. And, having 2 episodes where she's a central character is big, but they're really going to want to. Basically, I'm kind of wondering if they're not saying up, okay, obviously she's going to be on Game of Thrones for the next however long until either the show ends or they kill off her character. So I think they might wish to say, like, hey, Maisie Williams, maybe come back on the show as a regular in a couple of years? What do you think of that? So, yeah, I do kind of think that they're trying to set up the situation where, one, we'll get to see her again this season, and she'll be in a position where they can maybe occasionally bring her back as a guest star, and then possibly, I'm sure this is just sort of a pie in the sky idea, but possibly whenever she finishes up with Game of Thrones, see if she's still interested, maybe see about bringing her in as a reoccurring character or even a new companion at some point in the future. Now, again, it's certainly far too soon to really put any serious weight on that, but you have to imagine the guys over at the BBC are certainly like, let's put it on the that would be nice list. And, at the end of the day, that's basically kind of what I have to say. Peter Capaldi being great this episode, Maisie Williams just knocking it out of the park. That weariness of it all, of her after all those centuries, the fun of the character. I just love that line, ungrateful peasants. The horrible pain of her deciding to never have children again. I mean, all of that was done really well. And then there's, of course, the whole thing like, it only takes 10,000 hours of practice to be a superb, to master a skill. I mean, and that bit where she talks about how she doesn't even really remember the people that she grew up with, because even though she has this extraordinarily long life, she does have a normal memory. And if we just sort of stop and think about our own lives and how, stuff from our childhood, there's obviously things that we remember, but, as time goes by, a lot of that stuff fades. Now, multiply that by, 8 times the normal human lifespan, and that's for us people today. Imagine what it was for people from long, long ago. Well, I mean, geez, you'd be lucky to remember what name you were born with. And at the end of the day, that's really all I have to say about this episode. Again, this is another one of those Doctor Who episodes that has a lot of great moments. Even that stuff with Clara at the end, really good stuff. But the moments are emphasized more than the overall structure of the episode, and that means basically that anything that is not those really cool moments tends to fall kind of flat. And this is a reoccurring problem. I've talked about it again and again in regards to New Who. And don't get me wrong, I still love the show. I look forward to it. Every week I'm always jazzed whenever it's time for the Christmas special or whenever the show comes back. I mean, it still amazes me that I live in a world where Doctor Who is this worldwide phenomenon rather than that weird British show on PBS that only nerds watched. And by nerds, I mean the guys who were considered nerdy by Star Trek fans. That's how it was back in the day when I first got into this show. And now look at this. Now look at it, man. But, at the end of the day, weak storytelling structure is still weak storytelling structure, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I'm just going to have to leave that there. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Till next time, take care and have a good one.